Call the Cumberland School Committee meeting to order at 7:45 p.m. and ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Pleasure of the committee.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. DeMonica. Do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Teal and Mr. Denon. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0 with all members present. Next item, consent agenda, approval of minutes, regular meeting 6:11, special meeting 6:17, executive session 6:11, executive session 6:17. We have enrollment report from 7:1, school police report from 6:1, and the residency truancy report from 7:1. Pleasure of the committee on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Fiorillo. Second by Mr. DeMonica. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Next item is report out of executive session meeting on 7/9/2015. There were no votes taken this evening, and I need a vote to seal the minutes of the executive session. Motion by Mrs. Teal, second by Mr. Salvatore. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. We have 3 items. Dr. Thornton.
I'll go to Mr. Mitchell tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are more than 3 items that we just wanted to share with all of you. You know, contrary to what many people think, there is a lot of activity that happens during the summertime. And in fact, we had 2 groups of educators working today on some of the items that I shared with you. You should have received in the Google Drive a description of all of the activities that we have planned this summer. There are several different professional development activities and planning activities happening over the summer. Some of them will continue on during the school year. So we just thought we would do a very quick review of some of the things that are happening. We have had conversations about this writing process called SRSD, which is an acronym for Self-Regulated Strategy Development. This particular writing process has been implemented with great success at B.F. Norton School. They implemented it school-wide last year, and the results have been very impressive. So our goal is to implement this writing process district-wide. So we have a plan in place that will not only provide important information to all of the administrators, but all of the middle school teachers and all of the 5th grade teachers district-wide are going to be involved in a professional development process over the course of the school year. And they're actually, this is one of the things that they worked on today at B.F. Norton. A group of teachers were doing one of the activities that we have planned over the course of the school year. We've been talking a lot about thinking maps. We've actually already had 2 days of training of trainers. So we have a cadre of 20+ teachers who have been trained for 2 days. They'll be trained for 2 more days in August. And these 21 teachers will be facilitating professional development for all teachers and staff grades K through 8 on September 1st. So the expectation is that as soon from day 1, when students walk in the door during the 15-16 school year, they will all be exposed to thinking maps. So we're really excited about that. And again, the whole thinking behind this training of trainers process is our people will be trained to train their colleagues. One of the meetings that took place today was a group of math teachers, Monique Swiss-Johnson and 7 6th grade teachers met to do some revision work on the Eureka Math curriculum. So they're doing things like revising assessments. They're having conversations about pacing, which has, been a concern. We want to make sure that we are covering all of the standards that are supposed to be covered over the course of the school year. So that's taking place as well. The same is true with ELA. We have 6 administrators participating in leadership on blended learning. So blended learning is using technology. It's a combination of what we know as traditional teaching, but blended learning also includes the use of technology in instruction. So we want to make sure that our principals are in a position to lead their buildings on the use of blended learning in the teaching and learning process. So they have already had one meeting, and this doesn't cost us anything, by the way. So, which is a lot of these things aren't going to cost us a whole lot of money, and this particular professional development opportunity for us is not going to cost us anything. We have a lot of GEMS-NET science professional development taking place every single time. Teachers, they actually write to me after they participate in the PD, and they just talk about how impressed they are with the professional development that the University of Rhode Island and the GEMS-NET curriculum has to offer. So we're pretty excited about that. And interestingly enough, it's not just science, because the next generation science standards and this GEMS-NET curriculum actually involves reading and writing Common Core standards. So teachers are also learning how to make the connection to the Common Core standards in the teaching of science, which is a wonderful thing. So they're reading and writing, and the reading and writing that they're doing is aligned to the standards, and teachers are very aware of that as a result of this professional development. So we're really excited about that. You all know that we have a lot of activity taking place with Project Lead the Way. We have a high school teacher that will be spending 2 weeks, I think it's at Stevenson University in Maryland, to prepare that teacher to teach the next course in the biomedical science pathway, that is human body systems. This professional development, this training that they have to go through is really intensive. And in order to be able to teach the course, they have to pass a readiness assessment, which takes anywhere from 4 to 20 hours, the readiness assessment, and they have to pass that. And then once they pass that, they have to take this rigorous 2-week course in order to be able to teach the curriculum. So again, this is one of those, like, the initiatives that are most successful are the ones that have quality professional development that prepares teachers to do it. So that's another example. We're really excited about the gateway courses. We, there was the old tech ed model, which we are no longer going to be using at our middle schools. We're going to be using Project Lead the Way to implement 2 gateway courses at the middle school. One is design and modeling, and the other is automation and robotics. So we have eliminated the tech ed position and have created STEM educators. So we have 2 teachers who have volunteered to take on those positions. They will both be attending 2 weeks of training, one for each of the courses this summer at the end of the last 2 weeks in July, and one of the teachers will continue into the first week of August. And they too had to do the readiness training survey, and they had to be successful on that in order to be able to take the course. If you're not successful on the readiness survey, you can't attend the training. So it's pretty rigorous, and the training takes place in a lot of different places across the country, but our teachers are going to be participating at Worcester Polytech Institute. So, and by all accounts, just an outstanding curriculum, Project Lead the Way. The last thing is, everyone is aware that Rick Warmelli is going to be here on August 31st. He will meet and present to all of our staff on standards-based grading, and we have, as you all know, provided an opportunity for parents to hear his presentation. And I was actually on a website today, and he was doing he's doing a YouTube presentation, and he is an interesting, engaging presenter and extremely knowledgeable. He truly is an expert and very convincing on why it's important for us to make this move to standards-based grading. So there is a lot going on, and to be honest, there were a couple of other things that I could have included, but I just think it's important for everyone to know that we are really busy over the summer, and people ask me that all the time, geez, you guys must have a chance to take it easy over the summer, and that actually we're working harder than ever because this is when all of the planning for the school year takes place. So, I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Questions?
Mr. Mitchell, on the middle school, the modeling, is there any plan to buy like 3D printers for the schools or anything like that to go with the modeling?
Mike, we actually, don't we have a couple of 3D printers already?
Yeah, there's one right now at North Cumberland Middle School that was paid for through parents and GoFundMe, looking for a way to do the same thing at McCourt for next year, and we have 2 of them here from a grant at the high school.
These the 3D printers, which are amazing pieces of equipment, and they are much more reasonably priced. And if we need to get them, we'll get them. Alex Prignanos would very willing to support that. Yes.
Yeah. So I think what was stated was that North has one, and they did that through a fundraising effort, and they're trying to do a similar activity through McCourt. But as Mr. Mitchell pointed out, it shouldn't be an issue if we do need to allocate
Yes. We'll use professional development money if we have to.
one. Yes, solicit donations. Others, questions? Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. It sounds like you've got a busy slate of activities over the summer.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, so we covered all of the superintendent's report. Next item is the chairperson's report, funding formula in the BEP. I think what we said we would do is we would change this to school-town collaboration, which we do appreciate that Councilman Schmidt and Council President Dwyer were in attendance this evening at our fiscal management meeting, and I do expect their attendance to be pretty regular there. And Councilor Schmidt has been steadfast in his participation in our school committee meetings. Next item on the agenda, reports of standing committees, payment of bills. Mr. DeMonico.
Madam Chair, the Finance Subcommittee did meet tonight and review the check registers, and I would make a motion that we approve the payment of the vouchers in the $1,627,578.50. It did pass upstairs in a 3-0 vote. I move passage.
Mr. DeMonico moves passage of the payment of bills. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Denon. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. And fiscal management subcommittee update?
Madam Chair, fiscal did meet upstairs. There was only really one piece of business, and that's come up later, a school construction contract with Toronto Associates.
Thank you. Mr. Fiorillo, policy and procedures?
Policy and procedures did not meet. We will be meeting the week of August 13th, at which time we will bring forth amendments to existing policies regarding student attendance. I'm drawing a blank right now. Student attendance, the student discipline, thank you, and a few others. But those will be in actual draft form for that week.
Thank you. And Mrs. Teal, Achievement and Communications Subcommittee.
Achievement and Communications met this evening. We had a very nice discussion about reallocating resources to support incoming freshmen, to reduce team sizes, and at the same time still be in a position to reduce any slightly larger classes in the sciences or the ELA at the upper levels. And we will be meeting again to begin the process of talking to all the students, all schools rather, and having their presentations, second meeting in September.
Thank you. And just to clarify, Mrs. Teal, I arrived late to that meeting, so I apologize, but the interest in adding the teaming at the 9th grade level to provide 4 teams provided what benefit to the students in 9th grade?
So it reduces the size of the teams. So the teams will be reduced to a more manageable size of approximately 100 students across, I believe it's 4 teachers. So it reduces class sizes and increases sort of hopefully the interaction between between teachers and students, so there's a more personal experience and teachers have an ability to get to know their students more closely.
Thank you. And if I recall, one of the activities we wanted was when the high school provided some reports around benchmarks for student success, so grade 9 students and how critical that time period is for them. So when they provide the presentation, they'll talk a little bit more about grade 9 data.
They'll talk more about grade 9 data, and we also made a request that the administration provide some guidance for an outline for presentations so that when we're looking at data, it's similar grade to grade, or not grade to grade, school to school, so that parents, if they want to review the information that we're discussing, are better able to compare performance across the school and across the district.
Cool, thank you.
With an emphasis on less education speak and more parent speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item is building committee update. Mr. Fiorello.
There is no update.
There is no update. I don't expect the building committee to meet for at least several months.
Alrighty. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is comments from the public. Does anyone wish to speak this evening from the public? All right, hearing none. Moving forward, public hearing, reading of policies. This is the second reading for I-11 dual enrollment program. Mr. Fiorello, do you want to highlight this at all before we open
Yes.
it for public comment?
This is the I-11 dual enrollment program, which will bring us in line with General Law 16-100 regarding the governor's initiative to allow high school students to take classes at the college level, of which the only cost associated with the local school district will be administrative costs, but nothing substantial, nothing that needs to be budgeted. And I would ask that it be read into the record and that we actually we're going to vote on that a little later.
Alrighty. Does anyone in the public wish to speak on I-11 dual enrollment program? Hearing none, we will call the public hearing closed. And the next item is new business, discussion and or vote to rescind teacher dismissal recommendations. And I believe, Mrs. Vogel, just give me a nod if I'm wrong, there's one individual for that, which we discussed in executive session. And so I would be looking for a vote from the committee.
Motion to approve the personnel recommendation.
Motion to approve, okay, by Mr. Fiorello with a second by Mr. Salvatore for one rescission of the teacher dismissal recommendations. Do I have, and we had a second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Next item is discussion and or vote to rescind teacher non-renewals for the 2015-2016 school year. And there are 8 recommendations for rescission of non-renewals. Nod, thank you. And I would ask the pleasure of the committee on that.
Madam Chair, I make a motion when we approve the recommendation.
A motion by Mr. Demotica, second by Mr. Salvatore to approve the rescission of the teacher non-renewals. And any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is discussion and or vote to approve new policy I-11 dual enrollment program. And Mr. Fiorello, I assume this has come out of fiscal or policy subcommittee?
Yes, it has. It passed on a 3-0 vote when the draft was approved, and this will bring us in line with state law. So I would make a motion to approve I-11 dual enrollment program.
Thank you. Mr. Fiorello moves passage of I-11, seconded by Mr. Salvatore and Mr. Denon. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion and/or vote to approve resolution SEPR 7/2015-31, school construction contract with Torado Associates and RIDE Memorandum of Agreement. Mr. Demotica.
Madam Chair, this was discussed upstairs tonight, and it's a resolution authorizing and empowering the school committee to execute a purchase order with Torado Architects of Providence, Rhode Island for architectural engineering services for health, safety, capital projects not in an amount to exceed $400,000. It was approved upstairs in a 3-0 vote, and the funding for this will come from the town master lease that they're going to do on the health and safety projects, and it will be over a course of quite a few years before they see that kind of money. So it was approved upstairs. I make a motion. We approve the awarding the contract.
Mr. Demotica moves passage of SCPR 7/2015-31. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Fiorello. And for the record, the fiscal note states that the costs are available from the town lease. And the resolution states a resolution of authorizing and empowering the school committee to execute a purchase with Torado Architects to provide architectural and engineering services for health and safety capital needs. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is personnel recommendations. Mrs. Fogel.
Good evening. I just have a few for you this evening. The first I have is a retirement. So I request the advice and consent of the school committee on the retirement of John Zangari, technology education teacher at McCourt Middle School Department. Oh, McCourt Middle School, sorry, I don't know why it says department. Effective June 30th, 2015, after 20 years of service.
Pleasure of the committee.
Motion to accept.
Motion by Mr. Fiorello, second by Mr. Denon. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. The next is a resignation. I request the advice and consent of the school committee on the resignation of Gina DeGuano, school nurse teacher and supervisor at Cumberland Hill Elementary School, effective June 30th, 2015. I just personally would like to say this is very sad, but she got a job closer to home, so we had to let her go.
Understandable. Pleasure of the committee.
Madam Chair, make a motion. We approve the resignation.
A motion by Mr. Demotica to approve the resignation, second by Mr. Denon. Any further discussion? Mr. Fiorello.
I had the pleasure of meeting with Gina just a few weeks ago to discuss some changes to the attendance policy, and she was great to work with. I'm sorry to see her go.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All those in favor? And those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0.
And lastly, I have two appointments. So these two appointments are for instructional technology coaches here at the high school. So these will be to help the one-on-one initiative at the, up here at the high school. So I request the advice and consent of the school committee on the appointment of Nicole Lanny, instructional technology coach at Cumberland High School, effective 8/24/2015. She would be full-time, step 4, no lane, and this position also has a stipend of $7,000, and the teachers have a copay of 22%. Do you want me to just do them both? Okay. And I also request the advice and consent of the school committee on the appointment of Dean Palmer Jr., instructional technology coach at Cumberland High School, effective 8/24/2015. Mr. Palmer will be step 1 with no lane, also would have a $7,000 stipend and a 22% copay. And just for the record, these are both already current employees that we did the post internally, and so they're current employees who are becoming teacher leaders.
Understood. So just to clarify, because you're very soft-spoken.
I'm
and we
sorry.
have this really loud jet engine next to us. You said they were both current employees.
They are, that's correct.
Thank you. Pleasure of the committee on these appointments. Motion by Mrs. Teal. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Duffy. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Vogel. Next item on the agenda is school committee comments, school liaison reports. Well, this might be a record meeting. We have no executive session, Dr. Thornton?
Correct.
All right, Mr. Fiorello?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Fiorello, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Denon. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? We are adjourned at 8:10, and our next meeting is the second Thursday in August. Good night, everyone.